So these two traveling monks are walking along a path and they reach a river. And the river's pretty much moving along. And at the side of the river is a young woman, and she's kind of taking a step in, but she's not really sure of herself, and she was kind of afraid. So one of the monks stepped over and scooped her up, carried her across the river. The other monk followed. They got to the other side of the river. He set her down. Namaste, sent her on her way. The two monks went on their way. About 1 mile later, the monk who did not carry the woman across could not hold his tongue anymore. And he said, brother, our spiritual training teaches us to avoid any contact with women. And yet you carried that woman across the river without even thinking. And the monk who carried the woman said, dear brother, I set that woman down on the shore a mile ago, and yet you are still carrying her. So in the dictionary, it says forgive. 1, to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, a flaw, or mistake. 2, to refrain from imposing punishment on an offender or demanding satisfaction for an offense. And 3, to grant pardon without harboring resentment. Pretty hefty, right? So forgiveness is a decision. It's a decision that we make. And it's remembering that we are more than our mistakes, and everyone else is more than their mistakes. And it's interesting, the word mistake. The word sin, as many of you know, does not mean what we've been told it means. Sin is an archery term for when you shoot the arrow and you miss your mark. So a sin is missing the mark. It's not an unforgivable scar on you for the rest of your life where you have to crawl on your knees and beg.
Hallelujah.
It's a mistake. It's a missing the mark. So that's what that is. Forgiveness is remembering who I am and not what they did. Let's try that again. Remembering is who I am, not what they did. So if I am not who I was 25 years ago, how can the person who hurt me 25 years ago be the same person they were? Neither of us were the same. Why should I keep that person trapped in a box that I would hate being kept in? That's not fair. It's not fair. Forgiveness is also who I am versus what I do. So when I act out of alignment, I'm driving in my car and I go, really? To the other driver. And that's all I ever do. I never cuss. I just go, really? And that's like the equivalent. But it feels yucky. It immediately feels yucky to me. Like I do it and then I go, that feels yucky. Because I know I fell out of alignment. I know it's not who I am. I know it doesn't reflect the real me. So we forgive ourselves. And we struggle a little bit with what we hold on to and what we need to let go of. Heather was just recently reading a new Jodi Picoult book. She loves Jodi Picoult. And there was a great line in this book that says, it does not matter who forgives you if you're the one who can't forget.
That's true.
So I forgive. Great. And I hurt someone and they forgive me. Great. But once they forgive me, if I walk around going, man, I still really did that horrible thing, their forgiveness is like, boom, boom. And that's not how things circulate. So it's really a circulatory experience. What forgiveness is not, so we're going to talk a lot about forgiveness today, but I just want to clarify what it is not as well. It's not condoning hurtful behavior. It's not saying, I was sexually abused and that's okay. It's not. We're going to look more at we're going to go back to what it is, but I just want to clarify with you that if something happened to you that was really, really intense, it's not like, it's okay, it's all right, it's okay. That's not forgiveness. That's deflection. With the dance move. And in that same line, it's not pretending that the wound never happened. You know, I'm fine.
Yeah, right.
Did you ever, that use of that word fine is so dangerous. How are you? Fine. Fine. It's also, forgiveness is also not an opportunity to raise ourselves up to be better than someone. And it's also not a way to use as a weapon to get back at them. Well, I forgave them, so now they owe me. You know, it's not that. So those things off the table. So here's the big question. Can I forgive the person and not the action? Where does that take me? And you know what? It's just that is our divine call. And I'm going to go to a few sources for this because this was really interesting to me. So Jesus, master teacher, great guy, he said, forgive 70 times 7. Brother Francesco, whose quote was on the board when you came in, where there is injury, pardon. In the spiritual path Jainism, they say subvert anger with forgiveness. Hinduism, I love this. If you want to see the brave, look at those who can forgive. Islam, the best deed of a great person is to forgive and forget. Judaism, always with a sense of humor. Gotta love my people. Happy Passover, by the way. Who takes vengeance or bears a grudge acts like one who, having cut one hand while handling a knife, avenges themselves by stabbing their other hand. And I can just hear my mother say it. In Sikhism, where there is forgiveness, there is God itself. So this is not a new concept. It's not a hip, cool, new thought, new age. Let's all forgive. We're talking ancient wisdom here, all coming back to the same thing. Where there's courage, there's forgiveness. Where there's love, there's forgiveness. Where there's healing, openness, cleaning, cleansing, renewal, there's forgiveness. And I have 3 movie references for you today. 3 ones. One of my favorites is in the movie Magnolia, near the end, when the frogs are falling from the sky. I hope I didn't just do a spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen Magnolia. There's this great character, and he says sometimes, he's talking about what can be forgiven. What can be forgiven? And he says sometimes people need a little help. Sometimes people need to be forgiven. And sometimes they need to go to jail. So, speaking of jail, one of my movie references today is this movie. Powerful movie. And let me tell you that years ago, when I supported the death penalty, I saw this movie, and this movie is not what changed my mind about the death penalty. I still walked out of this movie going, I still support it. I have no idea what changed me. It happened during a personality test. I was supposed to answer without thinking. They said, do you support the death penalty? I said, no. And then I went, no, wait a minute, yes I do. What, wait, no, yes, no. So, however, this movie is powerful in that there's nothing about redemption for Sean Penn's character. He did what he did. The people that he impacted see him as pure evil. It's like there's no redemption. And in walks Susan Sarandon's character, Sister Prejean, who is, this is a true story. Sean Penn's character is based on a composite of 2 young men. And it was her job to help him to realize what he'd done so that when he was executed, he'd go clean. And it is not an easy movie to watch. It is a journey of a movie to watch. But there's 2 things that she says in this movie that I love. When she's explaining to him why she wants to be in the room when he's executed. Because he doesn't really get why she wants to be there. And she says, I need you to look at me. Because I want the last face you see in this world to be the face of love. So you look at me when they do this thing. I will be the face of love for you. Because in that room of people watching him are all the families of his victims.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of revenge and anger and unfinished business. And so she gives him that space. And she says to the guard, and one of the guards says, how can you work with him? How can you even sit in a room with him? And she says, Mr. Percy, I'm just trying to follow the example of Jesus, who said that a person is not as bad as his worst deed. This character did a heinous thing. And yet it was her job to see, okay, the thing is not him. And to get him to that place where this is the most amazing thing, where he recognizes that what he did is not him. Because he totally associates, well, I'm a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He did a bad thing. Powerful movie. I highly recommend it. It's really, 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 really strong. And then the other reference, the not so obvious forgiveness reference, is Where the Wild Things Are. I love this movie. And what I loved most about it, two things I loved most about it. One is they took a children's book and they made it into a new thought, metaphysical study in forgiveness. And the other thing I love about it is that it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. And so I won't give too much out because I really want you to see it. But the characters are all these representations, archetypes of us, of parts of us. There's someone that one of the monsters always feels like he's never heard. One of the monsters always feels that he's a victim. One feels that he can never really express himself. One feels that he's got to help everybody and be the right, you're right, oh, you're always right, and be the pleaser. And they're all aspects of little Max, and they're all aspects of us. And so all kinds of forgiveness goes on in this movie because there's hurt feelings, there's misunderstanding, there's acting out. None of them know how to manage their feelings because they're monsters. And so they haven't been taught. And that's us. That's aspects of us that haven't been taught. It's beautiful. It's beautifully filmed, and I encourage you to watch it with the eye of what's really going on behind the cute movie. So then in addition to this, I think the news lately has become a major prayer request for me. People say, well, why do you check the news? And I say, well, oh, baby John. I'm sorry I upset him with the monster. I watch the news because that's where the prayer requests are coming from. That's where the attention needs to go. That's where the love needs to go. The light needs to be shown. I don't read the news to be like, oh my God, it's so terrible. I read the news to go, wow, light needs to shine there. Love needs to go there. And of course, in the last couple weeks, one of the biggest news stories that has prompted talk of forgiveness is what's been going on in Steubenville, Ohio, which is near my hometown of Cleveland. Young woman, drunk at a party, friends not there helping her, supporting her, protecting her, she gets assaulted. The reaction of the community is to protect those who assaulted her because they're football players. And football is very important in Steubenville. Outside people come in to say that's wrong, and suddenly we have a media firestorm of who's right, who's wrong, who's the victim, who's not the victim. The news cycle, the mainstream news cycle did not handle it well. There was a lot of sympathy for the two young men who did the assault. And at the same time, they deserve sympathy. So does she. So does everybody involved. They also deserve accountability.
Yeah.
So there's that fine balance of forgiveness and consequence. And I think this experience has been such a teaching tool for so many people. Because as I've heard conversations and I've listened to dialogue at work and out in the world about it, people have very strong opinions about it. And then when you get past all the opinions, you get to the truth. What are we afraid of? What are we not afraid of? Who are we really? What are we capable of? Could I have stepped in and stopped it? Why didn't anyone step in and stop it? Well, what if I was there? What if I was... Where was the parent? Look, all these questions, and what it comes down to is move the story, get to the source. And find that place in ourselves where we can say, person, action. And yes, there are consequences for our actions. We all have them. What I find really fascinating in situations like that one, or in just everyday situations, when I'm driving and I do one of my oh reallys, is how long does that grudge stay? How long do we hold that? And there are people that I have met in my life, one in the mirror, and then others outside of my life, who take great pride in how long they can hold a grudge. I haven't talked to my husband in 35 years. Well, that's great, except that taking pride in how long you can hold a grudge is kind of like seeing how long I can hold my breath, which comes in real handy if you're underwater. But if you're not underwater, you really don't want to hold your breath that long. So the word respect comes to mind, and it's all connected. And so I did a little research. The Latin definition of the word respect is to respect. It's broken down to respect. Spec meaning to see. So you're seeing someone in a positive way and believing that they are good. You're seeing them new. You're seeing them again. So I think to myself, well, how much would I love that for myself? Who in my life would I really want to go back and say, could you please see me differently than I behaved back then? Could you see me differently than how I acted yesterday? Could you see me differently than what I said 5 minutes ago? And how many people in our lives are waiting for that from us? Are just waiting for that moment for us to turn and see them and say, oh, I see you new. I see you new. In A Course in Miracles is a great quote. They say, do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed? A gentleness that can never be hurt? A deep, abiding comfort and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you and more. Well, who wouldn't want all that? Of course we would. I don't know if some of you weren't here the last time, but when I talked about the African song, that when a child is born, their mom, when a woman becomes pregnant, she starts singing a song for her child. And it's that child's song. And when the child is born, everyone sings the song to the baby. And as the child grows, at each rite of passage, they sing the song. And it's their song. And as an adult, if that adult does something that is incongruous with the group, it's not working, it's out of alignment, instead of shunning them or kicking them out of the village, they bring them to the center of the village, they encircle them, and they sing their song to them. I know I told that story before, but it works today again. I think it's going to work in every talk. I'm just going to bring it. But it's this idea of remembering who we are, and sometimes when we forget, having other people remind us. That's what my wife is for. Yo, minister. No time off. But it's that when we forgive, we're helping someone remember who they are. When we have the courage to say, you know what, I forgive you because you've forgotten yourself. And I'm going to remember who you are. It gives that person an opportunity to go, whoa, I forgot about this. Thank you. And also for ourselves, that person in the mirror. I forgive you. You forgot who you were. Let me help remind you. Vincent van Gogh said, even the knowledge of my own fallibility cannot keep me from making mistakes. Only when I fall do I get up again. So we get up again. We fall. We make mistakes. It's part of the kind of a package deal of coming into this body in this life. Stubbing our toes, paper cuts, mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. The trick is to remember that other people are going to make mistakes. What we want for ourselves, we give to them. Whether or not they give it to us, that's not the point. Sometimes we get to forgive people and let them go. We're going to do a practice together. And I'd like you to use your stones for this. Carla, thank you. I'm going to bring you some. Hang on a second. Does everybody have a stone?
Yes.
I will. You're very welcome. Stone me. So we're gonna extend our prayer experience with the stone today, and we're gonna do a little practice together. So what I'd like you to do is hold your stone in your hand, and I'm going to explain to you something called Ho'oponopono. Are you familiar? It is...
We might need a new battery.
Maybe. All right, we're going to do this by memory.
We'll get it.
All right, it's a beautiful slide. So. Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian practice of reconciliation and forgiveness. It's currently being used. Thank you. It's currently being used in Hawaiian courts with juvenile and adult offenders. So they're already doing the African song. They're already doing it in Hawaii. Huna or ha'amana process it's a process leading to spiritual development. Today we're going to do a very basic version of it. By holding unforgiveness, we have, in a way, forgotten who that person is that we believe needs to be forgiven, whether it's ourselves or someone else. So we want to connect to that part of them that is pure and at one with us, the Namaste experience. These statements, the extended meaning is, I love you for seeing, I'm sorry for seeing you as anything other than spirit in a body. Please forgive me for forgetting who you truly are. Thank you for the opportunity to remember your essence and to grow. I love you, the pure essence of who you are. So what I'd like you to do now is either close or lower your eyes, whatever comfortable for you, to take you to that place that connects you outside this room and within yourself. Knowing that we are safe, guarded, and guided in this space, knowing that the thing that is larger than us, that I call God, that others call Spirit, Allah, Christ, Buddha, the mountain, nature, sky, love, that thing, whatever name we give it, that thing is here present in us, as us, around us. We are safe. And knowing this, knowing that we are surrounded in this blanket of safety and love, I invite you to bring to mind a person, whether it be yourself or someone else in your life, that is calling out for your forgiveness. Releasing attachment to the details and the story, releasing attachment to what is right and what is wrong, simply holding on to the essence of this person, knowing that this person acted out of the pain that they are in, acted from a place of hurt from themselves. They forgot who they are, and they forgot who you are. And so their hurtful behavior came from a place of unconsciousness. It's not the truth of who they are. And the part of you that they hurt is not the only and all of who you are. The true essence, the pure essence of who you are is spirit. Who we all are is spirit. It's untouchable. It's inviolable. No one can hurt or harm that part of us. And at that very space within us that is untouchable and unhurtable, we are now connecting to the essence of that other person, whether it be ourselves or someone else, to that space in them. It's the namaste experience. It's the oneness experience of the absolute innermost part of us that is spirit, that is God, that is nature, that is love. It's in us, it is us, and it's in them, and it is them, and that's where we connect. And in your mind, connecting to that place and being in that space, hear this. I am sorry for seeing you as anything other than spirit in a body. I'm sorry I missed the mark. I'm sorry I held the grudge. And take a really deep breath. And gently, very gently, saying to yourself, to that other person, please forgive me for forgetting who you truly are. Breathing in. Thank you for the opportunity to remember your essence and to grow. Breathing in one last time, exhaling on I love you. I love you, the pure essence of you. I see past it. I see past it. Knowing that forgiveness is something that we have within us to give. We have within us to receive. If you choose to, in this moment, to bring the stone into the water and let it go, I invite you now or after the service is over, whenever it's comfortable for you, to release the story now. To let the story go. To know that God, Allah, Spirit, Buddha, nature, love, the thing itself, has enough space to hold that you don't need to hold it anymore. We don't need to punish anyone anymore. Not ourselves, not anyone else. We each have that capacity to love, to give, to share, to grow, to expand, to change and to choose again and again and again. And so in this moment, we can let go of the story. We can let go of the experience and start clean and start new and start fresh. So I bless these stones, I bless the carriers of these stones, the holders of these stones. I bless the stories and I let them go. I bless each of us for the courage and the wisdom that it takes to say, yes, I'm willing. To be that brave soul that says, I forgive. To be that person that we long to see in ourselves that says, I can let that go. It's not who I am. It's not who you are. It's not who they are. It's not who we are. With deep gratitude for knowing and learning and changing and expanding and choosing. With deep gratitude, I let this go, knowing that all is true, true well.